Hey guys, I just wanted to add to my video a little bit about earlier. Um, Not really add to it, but just another thought I was having. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Anyway, based off of what I said earlier about parenting, and parenting being such a crucial, important job, especially if you have little people. But then I was thinking about it even more. And I think so many of us parent so much from a place of guilt or fear. And I think we do that because we do pretty much everything in life from some standpoint of guilt or fear, especially, I shouldn't say everything in life, but I think we do. We operate hugely from a place of guilt and fear on so many levels with so many things. So, what I'm getting at is it stops you. So, don't be pushed into parenting and spending time with your kids or not spending time with your kids. And here comes the train again. I have great timing. But don't spend your time based off of guilt. Like guilt of, I have to spend time with these kids because I feel guilty. And I think oftentimes our parents, hold on, this loud train is going to go through again. That might be the end of it. But anyway, I think we parent sometimes from a place of guilt, feeling like maybe we don't have enough money, or maybe we don't have enough time because of our jobs, or guilt from our parents, or whatever it is. But I think sometimes we parent from a place of guilt or fear. So we do things for our children out of fear of, well, what are people going to think? If I don't put them in this class, what are people going to think? Or we fear not doing things with our children because we didn't have them when we were young. So because we weren't parented, or because we weren't guided or led in a certain direction, I think a lot of times we parent out of fear of not measuring up, or not getting it right, or not doing it as good as the next person. And I don't think it's a horrible place to come from, because it's all based off of comparison. And we're all completely different. So there is no comparison. There is no right way to parent. There is no particular way to parent. So if you're doing it, so I think so many of us do it based off of looking at other people or comparing ourselves. So then we enroll our kid in that class because we're fearful that if we don't, maybe they won't be they won't get the right lesson. Or we fear that we sit in this fear all the time that we can't parent our children because we are comparing it to somebody else. And then we have guilt. So if you go do something that doesn't include your children, you feel guilty. I know a lot of times I'll be sitting doing something by myself, or not so much anymore, but used to, especially when I was really trying to get my brain around parenting from the standpoint of what I had learned. And I was comparing it all the time to how I was raised. And so I was always coming from this place of fear and guilt. I felt guilty for not spending enough time with my kids, like every minute, because I know that isn't how it was when I was a kid. I was on my own a lot, and I learned a lot on my own, and I learned a lot from other people that had nothing to do with my life, that maybe I shouldn't have been learning things from. So then I took that as being a parent, with such guilt, like, oh, I can't let my kids be by themselves, or I have to monitor every single second, or, and I always didn't feel like I should be that way. I wanted them to be free. I always wanted them to be kids and not always have me monitoring their every move or supervising them. But I had this guilt, like, oh my God, I was left so to myself as a kid, and to be a good parent, I can't leave them on their own. So I always felt guilty, like I had some fear and guilt. And then there's the fear of, well, if I can't raise them right because, well, I wasn't raised right. So I was always coming from this place of fear on, well, because I wasn't, then how could I possibly? And it's insane. So once we lose the fear and once we lose the guilt, you'll be amazed at how much easier parenting is, because it's a unique job. It's a one-of-a-kind job, and only you can do it, only your way. So if you're always fearing that you're not measuring up to somebody else, or you always have guilt that, oh, I want to spend time by myself, you're never going to parent and be the guide and the friend and the lead that's really what you're here to be anyway. I mean, you're not here to sacrifice your life to raise a kid. You're not here to sacrifice everything you want to give them everything they want. You're here to teach them how to be happy. You're here to teach them how to know who they are. You're here to teach them what values to them. And if you're always living out of fear and guilt, or operating out of what everybody else does, then how can you teach them your true values? So, we get lost in that. So many of us get lost in comparison to others, and then we operate out of fear and guilt from our past, our present, our youth, our friends, our community, whatever it is, and it's not you. So lose the fear, lose the guilt, and you'll be parenting 100% authentically your way, which is the only way to do it, because otherwise it's by somebody else's standard for somebody else, and you're not them, and those kids are not their kids. So there's not one way. And the minute and the day that we all realize that are parents and parenting and guiding, and realize there is no one way. There is no one way to parent. I have 5 children, and I've parented all of them exactly my way, and when I don't, that's when we have problems. So, don't parent your way. Parent your kids. Lead them. Think of them more as just somebody that came along after you, and they need to be leaded and guided. And if they're as unique an individual as you are, then there can't be one way to raise them. So, it's one thing when they're little and they're babies and potty training. Yeah, there's a standard. There's a method. Yeah, that's one thing. However, even that is different for everybody. At different ages, and teaching kids to eat and the basics of life. But when it comes to really the real nitty gritty and the real juice and the real love of life, it's all unique and it's all individual. And the more you try and box it and compare it and put it in some little package, the more you're going to fail, and the more you're going to struggle, and the more you're going to worry, and the more fear you're going to have, and the more doubt, and it doesn't get you anywhere. So the more you own that you are unique and you got what it takes, and the more that you embrace that with you and your people, with your life and theirs, the happier you'll be, because there's no standard and there's no one rule. And so many of us are trying to find that in this world of, there's 70 pairs of Nikes made at one time for 7 billion people. So it's like, oh, I must choose from these 70 pairs of Nikes, and it's like, but none of them are right for me. So it's kind of like parenting. You can pick from the 900 different boxes of parenting, or you can just pick your own, which is no box, and it's day to day, and it's different, and it's unique, and it's right. It's right for you. It's right for your kids. It's right. It's right for the world. And the more we all embrace that and know, the happier we can all be. So anyway, lose the fear of not doing it right, and lose the guilt of not doing it right, and embrace a future that can only be as bright as you make it be. So create that stuff, embrace your reality, and create the life for you and your children that you want, based off of no comparison and no judgment and no fear and no guilt. Just right for you. And it'll be right for everybody else. The more right we are for us, the more right we are for the rest of the world. So when we're all right, I think we'll all be all right. So anyway, peace out. Love you guys. See ya. Bye.